Well, hey, here we go. Welcome to the Hype Pod. Here we are with our very next episode. And today we are in for a treat because we do not have Arun or Vance in the studio. Instead, I technically have two guests. Have you been on the Hype Pod before?
I have not.
Okay, so we've got Andrew Thomas on the Hype Pod today and special guest Paul Lambess. Now, but before we get to introductions, I do need to make sure I do the Arun special and say make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow, make sure you share, do all the business because Hype Pod is growing and people are sharing it. We always love getting all the reports from where everyone is and just maybe some nugget that really kind of unlocked your business or unlocked your thinking and kind of catapulted you into a whole new level. We love hearing that. So make sure you follow, share, and just let us know where you're listening from and really what it means to you. But I'm excited for today because I've got two great men of faith that are here. And firstly, I might do an introduction to Andrew because he's actually no stranger to Vive Church or really the Hype world. Andrew, you've been with us for 12 years now? Is that right?
Yeah, coming up on 13.
Coming up on 13 years,
Yeah.
And this is your first time on the Hype Pod.
First time. I finally made it.
Finally made it.
It takes that long.
I had to take out Arun, you know.
Exactly.
Any Indian guy will do it.
Exactly. That's the invasion. I love it. Arun 2.0, a.k.a. Andrew, is here. But he's got a more impressive beard, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I can't really grow that thick a beard.
No, it's dangerous beard. But I thought I'd bring you on today as well because I need to double stack the interview questions for this guy here to my right, Paul Lambess. Paul Lambess, I want to get you to give us some insight to your business, your background, but I'll give firstly my insight because Paul Lambess is, I'm going to say probably one of my longest friends. I mean, what has it been now? 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Went through high school together. Did we go through primary school as well? When did you come to Belmont?
Year 5.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
What's that?
10,
11?
Yep.
Yeah, so 35 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
35 years. And least likely to
Well, I
succeed.
voted a lot. A lot of people voted.
I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about the both of us.
Oh, exactly. There you go, both of us.
Like us together, I think we are we're the dark sheep of Belmont Christian College. And, you didn't get suspended ever, did you? Did you ever
Yeah.
You did get suspended one
a
time.
couple times.
I think I got away without getting suspended.
Yeah.
And what did you guys get suspended for?
Well, I can't say on air. My kids know, so it's not that bad, but I definitely...
I think I got away with it. I
got blamed for it.
I think you took the rap for me. But, it's just an absolute thrill to see really what God has done in your life and what a crazy adventure from, leaving school. I think you started out in psychology and then you went into ministry, Bible college, and then you took a left turn deep into business, finance, I think mortgages, home loans, all that kind of stuff. And then now today you are the founder of and visionary of Winarch Group. I guess, is it Winarch Group Global? Or we're in Australia, but it's technically global.
We do operate in about 15 countries.
Right.
With our operatives.
Wow.
So,
Right.
yeah, we are global. Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely impressive, all the different pillars, all the different spheres that you're in. Maybe for everyone listening, just to kind of give some context, give us kind of the snapshot of where you've come from, what you've been doing, and where things are at now.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So it started out, really, I say passion is people and business.
Yep.
So the people side, Bible college, and obviously where I met your lovely wife.
That's right. Yep. They did Bible college together.
Yeah, and I stuck up for you and said you're a good bloke.
I appreciate that.
So the people side, ministry, faith side's always been a huge part of my life, and passion for business. So then the psychology, wanting to be an organisational psychologist and help people with work. We spend more time than anything in our workplace.
Yep.
So I thought if I can help people be happy and fulfilled at work,
Mm-hmm.
People should generally be pretty happy.
Yep.
At a high level. So I got into that, and then part of that journey was someone said, "Hey, do you want to join and come work for us in our finance business?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Yeah, I'll do that while I'm doing uni." So I went part time for my last year, got married, thought it'd be good to earn some money, and be able to afford to get married.
Yep.
Did all right at it in the finance, started my own finance business and did that for 20 years.
Yes.
So then, about 10 years ago, sort of had that itch to scratch, so to speak. It was after something different.
Yep.
Went back to uni to do a Masters of Org Psych because I thought I'd go back to that.
Yep.
Lasted 6 months because I went, studies not for me.
Right.
Second child was just born.
Yep.
But I said, hey, well, what have I spent 20 years honing? And my skill was in finance and property. So I said, I might start my own development business and just start really small and try some projects.
Now, when you say start small, what was small?
Oh, it was one block of land. We split into 3 blocks.
Okay. And just residential?
Yeah, residential. I think we bought it for I bought it for $500,000. Did it with a mate of mine.
Yep.
Cost about another $300,000 to subdivide and
develop.
and we made money.
Okay.
So that's what I learned from my finance days. Manage your risk.
Yep.
We wanted to do land, so we weren't building anything. We could make it happen quicker. Mm-hmm. So stuck to land, and just then went bigger and bigger, and learnt that if I got the fundamentals right, it literally was just another zero. Yeah. So and then had connections, and obviously my skill set was in the finance capital world, so I was able to organise loans and de-risk, and just took some, I suppose what some people would say, some big risks, but I say calculated risks. Understood, and that worked, and then that funded and really started a great property business. Yep. And then a property deal came up, I tell a lie. I was doing an industrial subdivision, looking for the next site, and I looked across the road and went, oh, that's a nice site. And it was a golf course. So, sorry to any golf lovers. Yeah. So if I close that down, that'd be a really good site. Right. So
it's a good lot of land.
Yeah, approached the owner. It wasn't for sale.
Okay. It wasn't for sale.
It wasn't for sale. Knocked on their door, got their details. He said, timing's perfect. Cut a long story short, we cut a deal. Yep. And it was hugely successfully financially. Yep. And then I said, well, I'm going to build an amphitheatre on the site because I love music. I'm a drummer. Yep. So then I started buying businesses in the music game to help me with that project. Yep. And then all of a sudden that's grown. So we're in property and music and other things, and we're passionate about what we do, and we got really articulate last year about describing who we are. Yep. And our tagline is built for the human experience. Yes. If we're building a subdivision, we want it to be a great experience. Right. Or if we're building or doing events, that's for the human experience. So we're really centered back to that core value of mine and where it all started which was a love of people and business.
Love of people and business. And that human experience is now vertically integrated in your company because you're doing live experiences, you've got sporting, you've got property, you're rattling off a lot of different companies. I mean, you've got security, you've got hospitality, you've got so many different elements. And what we see today with Winarch Group is so impressive. But I remember when we were talking recently, there was something that I thought was fascinating. It was kind of like the breakthrough moment. I don't know if you remember this, but you were talking about how you were trying to get some funding from a bank, and it was a big number to you.
I know what you're going to say now. Yep, keep going.
But you kept missing, no one wanted to partner because it was a low number for them. Yeah. Talk us through that moment, because I feel like in reflection, what really unlocked Winarch Group today was probably maybe that moment, or maybe you could suggest it was another moment.
No, I think you're right. What it was is the loan amount was too small. Right. And the lenders and the contacts I had said, yeah, we love you, we love the project, we'll lend to you, but if we're going to do a $1, $2, $3 million loan, it's not interested. We'd like to start at $20 million. Right. And I went, okay, now we're talking.
Because you were projecting for a $1 or $2 million loan.
Yeah, 100%. I was in that space because that was big to me at the time. Yeah, yeah. But what happens is we get so wrapped up thinking our world is the world. Right. Right. But it's not, right? Yeah, yeah. So I started talking to these guys, and that was 10% of what they wanted to start at. Yep. So it challenged me to think bigger. Yep. And again, if I applied the same principles, why wouldn't it work at a bigger number? Yeah. So I went, right. So that challenged and pushed me to think bigger, because often it was the same amount of work. Yep. So we did a much bigger deal, and it was the same amount of work, sometimes less. Really? Than it was doing a small one. But really, wow. Absolutely, the risk was a bit high, but we mitigated that. And then people with $20, $30 million wanted to, lenders, banks said, no, we're interested now. Here we go. We're looking for opportunity. So it really stretched me to be a bigger thinker and not just think at the level I was at, but get around some bigger people who think bigger, and then it pushed me, and then we just kept going from there. Yeah.
So how do you then process that idea of, because you just said, just another zero, okay, on paper, but in reality, that's another load of stress. When you're talking about the risk level.
Yeah.
How do you, as a leader, process that amount of risk, and not, be anxious because now I'm feeling like I'm over leveraged?
Yeah. Look, that's always a balancing act.
Okay.
And depending what your role is and who you are within even your own business.
Yep.
That can change dramatically. So what I mean by this, I'm the visionary.
Yep.
I'm out there believing I can do it all.
Yep.
So I've got to be careful that I don't, think pigs can fly and I can fly to Mars.
Yep. Yep.
All the time.
Right.
Because that's probably not reality.
Yeah.
But likewise, if I don't think big enough, I'm not going to grow and achieve great things.
Right.
So there's fundamentals that you've still got to apply, but you've got to believe in your own vision, and you've got to know that it's possible.
Okay.
Because if you don't believe in it, no one else will. How are your team? How's the banks?
Right.
How are the other people? So I've got other examples where I remember one project in particular. I said to the agent, I did the research. I knew that this land should sell for about $200 a square metre.
Yep.
There was no evidence of that. Nothing had been sold for that, but I just made some assumptions. So I went to the agent, and he said, "Oh no, look, let's list it for $120 a square metre, nearly half."
Right.
Now I still would have made money at that half. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I was like, no, that's way too low.
Yeah.
And he said, no, it's not. I said, okay, let's go at 180, 190.
Yep.
And he still kicked and bucked.
Yep.
But within days, we got sales at that. Then I said 200.
No way.
Then we got sales. Then I went to 220. Then I went to 250.
Wow.
And what that taught me is that you've got to believe in your own vision. If you don't back yourself, no one else will.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's often where people fall down, is they're so worried about the downside, they're so worried about the risk, which we should be.
Right.
But often that becomes your overwhelming emotion.
Would you say self-belief is how you increase risk tolerance?
Self-belief and good counsel, I would say.
Okay, yeah, talk about the good counsel.
Yeah.
Because, your self-belief can be overinflated.
Totally. I can sit at home all day and say how wonderful I am,
Right.
and how amazingly good looking I am, but it wouldn't take long to press that, and I get my reality given to me. So it's a really hard thing to manage sometimes, is to have enough vision and grit and determination.
Yep.
But then you can't go unchecked.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bible talks about it. You have boards, you have people in your life that can help you with things like that. And then you, as the founder, owner, visionary, need to say, what do I take on and what do I challenge?
Yes.
And then what are the risks if I take on that challenge and I fail?
Yep.
So there's some foundations you have to lay, but by backing yourself and coming up to a decision that you believe in, but that you can also test. Now, it doesn't mean you take on always the counsel, but you listen to it and then you wait. So many people hear something and just take it on, good and bad.
Yep.
Sometimes the agent says, no, I'll sell it for 300 a metre.
Yeah.
You're never going to get 300.
Right.
It's 200. So you can get counsel the other way as well.
Yeah. Negative counsel,
says, no, don't do 10 of those, do 100 of those. You go,
yeah.
I think that's a bit too much.
Right.
So it can go both ways.
Yeah.
So you do have to test it, and I think that's the key, is that you test it, you get some counsel, but you layer it with what you fundamentally believe in and back in, because it's your butt on the line. It's your probably house on the line.
Yeah.
If you're making this financial decision or investment.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you don't want to leave too much on the table either.
Yep.
So, and the more you do it, the better you get, the more you understand.
Yep.
So take on a little less risk at the start, and then you can probably dial it up, knowing that you're not going to lose the house on this one. And you've got a bit of a buffer now.
Yep.
So you do change a little bit as you go, but you don't lose that appetite, I find, to take on the risk and get counsel, weigh it up, but you're the one who's got to make the call.
Yep.
That's what I've found with selling on the property side anyway, is that people say, if I'm an agent, I just want to price it fairly low so I can sell it quickly.
Of course. I just want to move it.
I just want to move it fast.
Yep.
Now, I don't want it to stay around forever either.
But you want to get maximum dollar.
That's right. So push the agent a little bit harder.
Yep.
So,
so
I think, if you're just on an island by yourself with your own thoughts, that you can end up in fairyland sometimes.
Right.
So seek a bit of counsel, but overlay it with your passion, and make sure there's an alignment there, and then back yourself.
So you've got like a kind of like a broad spectrum of businesses that you're in right now, that come under the one banner. obviously your background, your experience, 20 years was in finance. And so I guess that lends a lot to property, right? When you're buying property, because you're doing mortgages, home loans, all that kind of stuff, that was kind of like your book. But then you ventured out into live events, you ventured out into sport now and music. What kind of principles apply across, and what kind of new things do you have to learn when going into a different market?
Right. That's a great question.
Yeah. So the things that apply across is have a passion and a vision.
Yep.
People are attracted to a passion and a vision. So if you have a team, even a partner in your life, your partner, you got to have a vision for your life and together, and whether it's to go on a holiday or have kids or to just whatever it may be, you know, people want vision and hope. So I think that's no matter what we've done, I always have been really clear and excited, and I've done something that has had vision
passion
and purpose. So that would be the common thing. No matter what it is, if we're not passionate about it, or if it's not a core part of our vision and passion, don't do it. It might be fun, it might be shiny, it might be really cool. But is it really in the core of our passion?
And is that because you need the energy to see it through?
Well, because then it just doesn't fit. It's a quick hit, or it might be great. But then you went, oh, why did I do that? And we've made those decisions. We've bought something that's shiny.
It was like,
we've done something that's shiny. You go, oh, why did I do that? It was just because I felt good at the time. But no, if I had to step back and assess my passion and vision, it's not really, didn't hit that criteria. The thing that I've learned, or that we've changed as we've done it, is, and as we've grown, is then, and I know it's really cliche, but it is just so true. Build a team and get people around you who are experts. So when we've gone into the live music space and the live event space, we've gone and bought the best teams and the best people.
Okay, so you've brought through to these different spheres or these different
100%.
areas your passion, what you like, but then you've hired the areas of expertise that
100%.
You didn't have.
The doers, the executors. So one of our core values is we hire the best and we stay the best.
Okay.
And why that's a core value is that we hire the best so that everyone on the team knows, hey, we've got a team of experts. But then right next to that, we say, and we stay the best. So we know that it's constant improvement, constant change, constant challenging from each other, so that we can be the best of what we do. So then I've got the best people in the security businesses, in the event businesses, in the live music business, in the music store businesses, because we need to bolster it with that. I can't do it myself. And often because we think we love something and we're passionate about it. I love singing, but if I sung right now, we'd end the podcast real fast.
We'll leave that to Andrew.
So sometimes the passion and skills don't align. People think they do because they love doing it, so they want to do it because they're passionate about it. But you just got to look yourself and sometimes tell your friends or your colleagues, hey, you know what, you're actually not good at that.
So can I double down on that? Where does passion win? Because, I mean, I think you were talking to Andrew and I earlier today about, hey, if you put passion first, finances follow. But if you put finances first, it's hard to find the passion in it. So but hey, just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you should do it.
That's right. So there's a difference between dreaming and wanting to do it, and believing in it and leading people to do it, than actually executing and doing it.
Okay, because I want to double down on this, because we're talking to a lot of founders who maybe see a problem in the market that they're passionate about, but maybe it doesn't match the market's not big enough for it to be a viable problem to solve, or maybe it's maybe a them problem, not a whole people problem, humanity problem, that kind of stuff. How would you define something you're just irritated by that you want to solve, or something that you're deeply core value passionate about? This is what I've got to do with my life.
How long we got? No, that's a big one. I think that's where sitting in a room by yourself and not getting counselling.
That's a problem.
Is that you start thinking about, I can do all this, but let's now go and test it. Is there a market for that? And we've made a lot of big mistakes. We've lost a lot of money. We've made a lot of money. But when we haven't tested and we've gone off, you sometimes go, well, can this actually work?
Yes.
And sometimes, is this a passion? Just because it's a passion doesn't mean it has to be a business. So there's stuff that we give or that we do just because we love doing it. Does my business brain kick on and go, oh, I could make that a business? Yeah, it does, but that's not for me, or that doesn't. Let's just make that my passion. That's something I enjoy. Or that's something I want to help, or something I want to do. So I think, but then when you have that conviction and passion, and then you launch it into something that you believe you can make, you can disrupt an industry, you can change, you can add value, and you can commercialize it. You won't be anywhere near as successful as the next person if you don't have the passion.
Wow.
So passion just
that's so true.
It gets you through the tough times. It gets you out of bed. It gets your team moving, and sometimes you need to be hit with your own passions as well. Don't get me wrong. And your team will come around you in your tough times. So passion plays a key part in your vision and making it work. But again, if you just run on passion alone,
so it's passion and counsel.
100%.
I mean, that wise counsel is such a game changer, because Andrew and I think over the years we've definitely talked through so many different ideas. And we were just talking with my pastor the other day, Pastor Jurgen, and he was talking about, what makes a serial killer is someone who just sits at home on their own. When you ever talk to the serial killer's neighbor, they always say, well, he's kind of lonely and kept to himself. You talk to another serial killer's neighbor.
You can't talk to their neighbor because
he killed the neighbor. But the person next door, like, hey, they always kept to themselves. Well, that's the problem. They kept to themselves. And after a while, like, they just thought, hey, what would taste good? Skin, But if you said that in a group, what are you talking about? Like, no, I was just joking. Yeah, skin, that'd be disgusting.
How many
right?
times have we all thought something? Right. Thought something was real, and when you say it out loud,
yes, it sounds stupid.
That sounds pretty.
But in your head, it sounds kind of cool.
Correct.
Right.
The thing that I would overlay over passion and skill, for us, and that it's worked, that is probably almost higher than passion, I would say. In business, is timing.
Okay, let's double down on that one.
It's that
because you could have the right passion, you could have some good counsel, but if it's not the right timing, for the market, for you and your skill set,
everything.
Okay, so there's a few things that have to align here.
Yeah, so timing, you can't. So if you can, people say, fools rush in where angels fear to tread.
Right.
Then some people say, he who hesitates is lost.
Right.
Which one is it, right?
Which one is it?
Well, it's actually both.
Yeah.
Because we found, I'll give you a quick example. I was buying a property, totally believed in it. We did all the DD. We were buying it. We're trying to buy it off someone who said they were selling it. And the price was 17 million.
Okay.
And believed in it. Thought that was a good number. A fair, wasn't crazy. Overvalued, it was right. Anyway, it didn't happen.
Okay.
It all fell over. We couldn't get it done. They didn't want to sell. Anyway, then the people who had the control of the property also fell over.
Okay.
And then it was actually a local council who owned the property. They took it back. They put it to market about 6 months later.
Right.
And I'll just fast forward the story, but then I bought it for 27 million.
Wow.
And what had happened, so I paid $10 million more. Only basically in a 6 to 8 month period. But what had changed was the timing. There was a few things externally that had changed in the market. And I looked at this off the hand, the value's here and here and here.
Right.
So then I contracted to buy it. Then I negotiated a settlement of about a 4 or 5 month delay.
Okay.
So it was a construction project, so I could get my ducks in a line and get the construction price and get some sales and all this sort of stuff. By the time I settled, that site got valued at 110 million.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
my gosh. So the way you were setting that up is, I'm like, man, you got a bad deal. You could have got this for 17. You paid 10 million over. But that is a vastly different story when it's worth 110.
Yeah, and that was only another 4 months. So within 8 months, it sort of 10x'd.
Right.
Crazy.
No, 5x'd.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I'm not that wonderful. I mean, I'd love more opportunities. I'm looking for more of those, don't worry.
Yes.
But it was all about timing.
Right.
I was still passionate. I believed in the project. And the first time it didn't happen, that was something out of my control.
Okay.
So sometimes things don't happen in your business, in your organisation, and you've got no control over it.
Right.
But sometimes you've got to step back and go, okay, well, that didn't happen for a reason.
Okay.
There was the timing must have been right. You can take a more holistic or higher level view of all of that. Which we did. But then it came on. But then what happened was I wasn't restricted by the past experience to reevaluate that. So I was still passionate about it. I still had the counsel. But then I'd picked up on some things that had changed, and I believed the value was X because of these reasons, and it was right. But the difference was timing. There was no way on earth I was paying 27 when the guys were selling me for 17. I couldn't justify it.
Right.
when I bought it for 27, I thought that was a good deal and was about right.
And how much later was that from the 17 million?
6 months.
So within 6 months, it's jumped 10 million, and you still thought it was a good deal.
Yeah.
Based on what? Like, what was the timing that changed?
Well, what had happened was what had happened in this deal was the 17, like I said, fell over.
Yep.
It went to market.
Yep.
I said I'll pay 17 again.
Yep.
Then someone else.
They were bidding.
Yeah. Then there was, it got down to some, because there was an expression of interest. Then a guy put an offer of 27 on it.
Yep.
And anyway, then he only wanted a portion of the site. It was a really large site.
Yep.
And he wasn't a developer.
Okay.
And I said to the agent, I said, well, what's happening with it? And they said, this guy's about to buy for 27. I said, what's he going to do with it?
Yep.
Oh, he doesn't know, but he just needs only a small portion of it.
Right.
But at 27, it still works for him.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, how about I buy it and I sell him that bit?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, okay, that sort of makes sense.
Yep.
I'll put you in touch with him. Got in touch with him, and I said, hey, I'll buy this for 27.
Yep.
But I'll sell you your part.
Right.
And I structured a deal where there was no risk to him. He had a 3-year option.
Yep. And
if he didn't want it, he only had to give me $1 in exchange.
Wow.
But the catch was, I said, for this portion of the land, which was like a fifth of the land, I sold it to him for $25 million.
So you bought that entire thing for $2 million?
Yeah. But he had no risk, because I said, you can walk away, but I knew he wanted it.
Well, he was going to pay 27.
He was going to pay 27 anyway.
So he got a deal.
And he got a great deal. He didn't have to put any money down. He just gave me $1, signed a contract, and he had within 3 years to give me the money. Then I had to do all the works. And
so you essentially spent $2 million for a $110 million property.
Give or take.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
So but that was, so my point in all of that is
the great timing came through.
Is timing and something, the smallest change can happen in the market.
Yes.
In your circumstances, good or bad, that says you should go or you should stop.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's what I think we often miss, because we get caught up in, because we're so passionate about it. Or sometimes we have the money to do it.
Yes.
Or we have the resource, or vice versa, we don't have the resource, so we don't think it should be happening, and then we don't. Another core value of ours is called optioneering. There's always another way.
Yep.
So you just got to break through and think of another option. But all of that is sort of the hand on the plow and the work, which is really important. But sometimes I just find you take a clarity break, you sit back, you sit in a chair, and you go, is this the right time?
Wow.
Because the right deal on the wrong time is a bad deal.
How do you know when the timing is wrong, or when you just need to push a little further or be a little riskier?
Yeah.
Normally 6 months after you've made the decision. And then you get on a podcast and only tell the good stories.
But I mean, it's a good question. Like, how do you know when do I keep pushing?
Moment.
Yeah. Or when do I hold back?
Look, like anything, the more you practice, the more you do.
Yeah.
You're missing less baskets because you've shot at the basket more often.
Yeah.
And it becomes a numbers game. Everyone quotes Michael Jordan's success rate, but no one quotes all the baskets he missed.
Yep.
Right.
But you look at how many baskets he just shot at.
Yep.
It was enough. So there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Coming back to timing, there's times when I can take more risk, and there's times when I can't take risk because something else is happening, and I want to protect and I want to be safer. But then I can, so. Once again, timing comes into it, but I think that the more you do it, the more you know.
Yep.
But I truly believe that if you just stop and you think about it,
yep,
you got to follow the thing that isn't on a spreadsheet, that isn't in a book. It's called your gut.
Yep.
And if you're a Christian, you pray about it. You ask God to come in and give you guidance.
Yep.
And you just say, is this the right time? And sometimes you just know it is, and sometimes you know it isn't. Quick other story.
Yep.
Had a parcel of land that, again, another parcel, another site.
Yep.
These guys, we said, maybe we might just sell this bit, could do with a bit extra cash. We could go and do these other things. What do we think?
Yeah.
Long story short, guy come in. He's $7 million. We'll give it to you in 30 days.
Okay.
Now, well, I don't know who's on the podcast or listen to it, but to me, $7 million is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
And I was like, that's really good. And we were getting all excited about that. And it made sense. And it meant we could do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
So this is a good problem to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just that niggle, just that spirit, gut, inner thing.
Yep. That you felt wasn't right.
And I just went, it's not right.
Yeah.
And I don't say that often.
Right. When there's a $7 million.
When money's coming this way.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
So the default was to say yes, and this is a great thing. This is meant to be because someone's giving us money so quick.
Yep.
But I said no.
Okay.
It's not right.
Wow.
And then, now in that moment, did I know that was the right decision?
You weren't sure.
No. But I felt it was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the bank was going to foreclose on my house the next month and my kids were out on the street,
Right.
I probably would have sold it.
Yeah.
And maybe God would be telling me something a little bit different at that time.
Yeah.
But where I was at the moment and where I said, no, that isn't right. Did I have a lightning bolt and did I feel that, oh, yeah, wow, I've made the right decision? Not particularly, but I just felt it.
Yeah.
A month later, because I didn't sell it, 3 or 4 things were able to happen, and because I had that land,
Yeah.
and now it's completely changed a trajectory of something else.
Wow.
Because I didn't. So it was
Yeah.
that inner conviction
Yes.
to
That
make
you
the
listen
call,
to.
and I listened to it, and don't always get it right, but hopefully, like Michael Jordan, you get it right more than you get it wrong.
Right.
And,
But let's talk about that because it's like, we're talking about the feeling, but really as Christians, we're talking about the leading of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you feel like as you follow the Holy Spirit, it's those moments where I guess you could articulate it as an obedience to the Holy Spirit because it was a feeling, it was a sense, that feeling gets stronger, that sense gets stronger, the voice of God gets a little bit more, has more resonance in your life the next time another deal comes by? Or is it ground zero again for you every time?
Yeah, I don't feel that the obedience to the Holy Spirit is like a volume knob. That the more obedient you are, the louder and the clearer you hear it.
Okay.
Likewise, because you would say the more disobedient we are, the softer it gets.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's different principles that apply. That obviously, the Bible says, "Draw closer to me, and I'll draw closer to you." So there is that, closeness and more attentiveness you can be with God. I get that, but in this circumstance, I feel that I think obedience would be a strong word because often it isn't like I feel like I'm doing something right or wrong.
Right.
It feels like I just don't feel like I should do this.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right.
Right.
And then what I've always done is I take the still small voice approach and go, my faith needs to kick in here more than obedience.
Yeah.
Because I don't, the way God speaks to me often, how I make these decisions isn't a lightning bolt and there was writing on the wall and the angel appeared. And so it's actually, I'm exercising often I find my faith muscle more than my obedience muscle.
Okay.
Wow.
I like that.
Because if an angel came in and said, do not do that, you'd be pretty silly not to do it, right? But that's obedience.
Yeah.
Right.
But faith is this thing...
A little bit more ambiguous.
It is, and it's just, are you going to believe me? Are you hearing my voice? Are you being still and knowing that I'm God? It's that which I find in the busyness and the hassle of the world we live in today, with phones and watches beeping at us and laptops and people and kids and it's just all incoming, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's probably a faith muscle I work.
Yeah.
And I think that does get stronger because you pick up the feeling and then you make a decision.
Yeah.
And God always turns it for good anyway.
Yeah. He can redeem everything.
Yeah. I think that's how I would probably approach it because obedience that's really clear if I'm doing the right or wrong thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been times in my life I have felt God say, hey,
Yep.
speak to me like that. But especially on business decisions and running a business, I find it's that, wow, there's so many pros and cons. And, what should we do? And so stop, be still here, and then make that faith decision that it's going to be all right either way. But I feel this is the right choice.
I like that. Did you say something? So there's this Paul Lambess now, who's a successful businessman who's obviously developed and built a very cool business. You're really shaping industry now, not just a business, but you're affecting the way that even in Australia that you do sporting events, live events, all that kind of stuff. So it's affecting culture now. So it's gone beyond just starting a business. Knowing what you know now, I think one of the hardest things when someone's starting a business and someone listening might be starting a company or they're raising a pre-seed stage and it's scary to them to even take on angel checks from somebody. If you could look back at Paul 20 years ago, some of the mysteries or the unknowns that were terrifying to take step, what would you coach yourself to do now?
That's good.
Okay. Oh.
Because you've stepped way beyond just taking risk. You've now stepped into areas that you have no business stepping into.
Pretty much. I think one of the things I would coach myself into would be, and I know I said it earlier, but it's a little bit different context. It's all going to happen in the right time.
Yeah.
And in a world where the hustle and the hustler and the make it happen and the Harvey Specter, the closing the deals, and which is such a prominent.
It's the grind.
It's the grind, getting out there 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week, knocking down the doors. Hey, you could just be doing figure eights.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere, right? And busyness doesn't equal effectiveness. And all that sort of stuff. So I think, but you need a hustle to break through. Don't get me wrong, and you need the grit and determination. But I think what I know Gary Vee mentions it a lot. Actually, I see some of his stuff come through sometimes. It just says, "Hey, you got plenty of time. It's okay."
Yeah, right.
And I think we lose perspective of our life, of God's plan, and so it's that fine line. Just in those moments where you get anxious or you want it yesterday. Sometimes God's slowing you down and He's not giving you something because you're not ready. Yeah. Be faithful with little, then you'll get the much.
Yep.
Or He's just putting up a stop sign because He's fixing that big pothole on that bridge that's broken on that cliff so you don't fall in it. He's repairing the road, He's fixing the bridge, then He turns green, then you go through it. Yeah. And that can be years, it can be months, it can be weeks, it can be days. Yeah. But I think 20 years ago, you want it all so fast. And, and in society, we want it all yesterday. But, man, I wasn't ready for this 20 years ago. But I wanted it 20 years ago. Yeah. So I think that perspective. Yeah. I think so then you've got the skill and you've got the maturity to handle the losses and the wins. Sure. And the lessons and the growth. So, yeah, I think that's good. Everyone wants to be a success overnight. Yeah. Everyone wants their startup to get a $100 million valuation in 6 months. And they align themselves with investors and with partners that want that too. Yeah. So take the long game. Take the longer view because, anything of value takes time. There's one element, and we often talk about it in a marriage. Yes. There's one thing that adds to a marriage that nothing else can is time. Yeah. That can be a good thing and a bad thing.
Depends on the marriage.
I've got a wonderful marriage, love my wife.
Well,
but 20 or you say you're 23 years this month,
right? 23 years married. Yep.
Yeah, it was 21 years in December. Yep. But when you're with someone for 20, 30, 40 years, guess what? That all that history and all that connection that you have, nothing can replace what time can do. Like a tree, like a massive oak tree. Like you can't grow. You know what I mean? So I think we undervalue the value of the time it takes to do something. We want everything instant and fast and quick and and in business you can have that and we see those successes, but I think that's the advice I give myself would be, hey, it's okay, it doesn't have to happen overnight. Right. Chill out a bit and let the process be just as enjoyable as the destination that you're heading, and you'll become a better leader, person, father, friend along the way. Yep. And you can build. Then you've got a great foundation. I love rather than that quick hit because you make silly decisions when you're in a hurry.
I mean, talking about silly decisions, I think as I think back about when we were at school.
Oh no.
No, I'm not going to give away. Exactly. I'm not going to give away too many specific stories, but I mean, we made a lot of dumb decisions. Okay, we made a lot of silly decisions, but I think when I look back, all three of us have made a very good decision in the women that we chose to marry. Maybe just unpack that because you've got an incredible wife. She's awesome. Yes. I would say that she's risky.
She took a risk on me.
Took a risk on you, but even in just like the support in you taking these risks. Obviously, it's like a decision that you make together as husband and wife. What's that journey been like for you to kind of being this passionate entrepreneur and bringing that to your spouse?
Well, I've often said to a few friends, I think I might have said it to Lauren, my wife. Yep. I said I've gone, at times I probably wouldn't want to be married to me.
I think I've said that to Kira.
Yeah, so I'm fully aware of my shortcomings and the whirlwind of whatever I can bring in the door sometimes. So
Yep.
yeah, it is not lost on me the patience and virtue of a loving, faithful wife.
Yep.
Because that's what I definitely have.
Yep.
And it's hard because, opposites attract, and,
Yep.
God has called me to be out there and what I feel, knocking down doors and creating opportunity and disrupting and
Yep.
doing cool things and big things. And I've got an appetite and a stomach for that.
Yep.
But Lowell would be happy in a
Yeah.
2-bedroom little cottage, white picket fence,
Yep.
a dog, and
Yep.
we all walk to school. Like
Yep.
that's her. So
It is.
we've got these two worlds of
Yeah.
opposites, but
Yep.
we've been joined together and love each other, and then you throw kids in the middle of that,
Right.
who are a bit of her and a bit of me and a bit of something that we didn't even know existed. So and who'd you get that from? So then that throws it, and you want to teach your kids to think big, but you want them to be humble. And then,
Yep.
so look, I think where we've really done well in our marriage has been when we've got on the same page.
Yeah.
When we said, okay, what are we doing this for?
Yep.
What's the vision? What's the goal? And if it's to, hey, if we achieve this, well, we can take the whole family on a holiday, and that would bless us
Yeah.
and hopefully bless them.
Yes.
And that gives us. And then maybe if we have a win financially, that means we can give, or we can do something over here.
Yep.
So it puts context over my nature.
Yep. Yep.
Of more and more and keep going.
Yep.
But then it also shows me what's really important to Lowell and what her values are.
Yep.
Because when you don't, as we don't, work together every day and are in the same business, or albeit it's, she's got her own business.
She does, yes.
So a perfect example is this. She's got this amazing little giftware florist business called
Yep.
Peggy B, named after a grandmother.
Uh-huh.
Amazing business. It's in the community. Her heart's for community. She loves people. They love
Yep.
it. They come in.
Yeah.
It's probably half the size of this office.
Right.
And
So it's
that's
a
her.
boutique.
Little boutique.
Yep.
Beautiful. Amazing.
Yep.
I look at it and go, let's take this thing national and grow it. And she goes, you get your hands on it. You're not touching
You're
it.
not touching it. It's staying small.
It's staying small and cute.
Because she can shut it when she wants.
That's
She can
right,
open when
and-
she wants.
Yeah, and it's just her vibe and her feel, and
Right.
So then we share business on
Yeah.
that particular thing. But I'm thinking global domination, and she's
Right.
going, no, just in the
Right.
community.
We could chain this.
That's right. So I think and then as well, where the angst has come and where the stresses sometimes comes, then when you're not aligned and you're both doing
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
and you forget why you're doing it, what the greater context is.
Wow.
So where we try and continue to get the same page on is that context is we want to achieve these things, do these things, give to these things, and where we can support each other.
Yeah.
That's where the magic happens.
I love that.
I should say no to more things. I know she tells me that, and she's right. But
Right.
I keep saying yes to things. So sometimes I've got to pull back.
Yep.
And then likewise, I try and encourage my wife to be excited about the things I say yes to. So we can meet in the middle a little bit. But that's
So good.
that's the challenge. But I think when there's the greater context, we know that we're trying to achieve something by what we're doing. It keeps us unified because we are, really different people, and God's given us each other, and we love each other for our strengths.
Yep.
And our characteristics. Then we've got beautiful children.
Yep.
So it's staying on that same page is always the challenge.
Yep.
But when we have those clear goals, it just cuts through, and it really makes it worthwhile.
I love that.
Mm.
One of the things I'm thinking through here, right, is, some people might...
Sorry, I just want to say just say one last thing, because if she ever listens to this, I'll get some brownie points.
My
on
wife
this.
doesn't listen to this, so,
Well, yeah, let's see if Lowell does. But
Okay.
she does remind me, because when I was starting my finance business and whatnot,
Yeah.
she was a school teacher.
That's
at
right.
Belmont.
She was my daughter's teacher.
Yes, that's
Yes.
right.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
she taught my daughter.
Yeah, so she constantly reminds me, if it
Yeah.
wasn't for me supporting you and bringing in the wage, you'd be nothing.
That's so Lauren.
So, she absolutely has contributed to
She's
and the
awesome.
business success by supporting me.
Yes.
In my
When you're a starving entrepreneur.
the starving wannabe entrepreneur trying 10 different things and
Yeah.
all them all failing.
Yeah. She
was
had the stable job.
She had the stable job paying the bills.
She was the breadwinner.
She was the breadwinner. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this in the context of, you've got so many different variables when you're starting a company. You've got maybe risk tolerance, maybe you've got passion areas, but you also don't know what you don't know. And so when I look at kind of the industries that you're in now, I think I've got this beautiful vantage point of seeing you back growing up, we're almost the same age. We're like 7 days apart, and we've grown up in the same environment, the same town, and yet you have broken through in different industries that we really didn't know anything about. Where does the knowledge gap serve you, and where does it hinder you?
Great question again, mate. Where it helps you is sometimes you can know too much.
Right. Because sometimes being ignorant about the problems
Ignorance
can be
actually is bliss.
Right.
Right.
There you go.
So often you can know too much about something because you start rattling off all the negatives and all this kind of, and you're probably right.
Well, that's what I find with
You know?
lawyers. A lot of time lawyers will tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't do something because they know the law, they know the problems, and you go, okay, thank you for that information.
We call them SPOs.
SPOs.
Sales Prevention Officers. So
But that's exactly
agree
what
on
it
a
is.
deal, and then we
Right.
say, right, we've got to get the
SPOs
SPOs
in.
involved.
Yep.
And it normally derails. You've got to get them
Yep.
out, get it back on track, and you close it.
Yep.
So any lawyers out there, you're an SPO, Sales Prevention Officer.
I love that. We're incorporating that, Andrew.
So you can know too much. And a mate of mine who's a real estate agent said, because all these out-of-towners were buying a lot of property in the town I was in.
Right.
And he said, you know the biggest problem? He said the locals know too much.
Yeah.
They remember what that sold for 5 years ago.
Yes.
They remember what next door sold, or they bought this for something. They go, it's not worth that. It's not worth that. But
Right.
someone with fresh eyes comes in and
Right.
goes from a different perspective and goes, that's actually underlying really good value. And
Yeah.
this area is about to boom, and they look at it from a new lens.
Yep.
So people who are local or people who are in an industry
Yes.
often know too much.
Yes.
So they don't have the opportunity to
Yep.
widen their mindset and
That's
look
so
at
true.
things differently.
That's so
Because I
true.
think it's always been done that way, so we just do it that way.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where knowing too much can be a real problem that
Yeah.
that it holds you back.
Yeah. Not knowing enough. What about that? And how do you break through that barrier?
Not knowing enough is probably a pretty simple remedy. Is you just hire someone that does.
There you go. There you go.
And what it means is, it actually often means for those people starting a business or in a new business, and look, to be honest, it's in any level of business at times, we don't have the money, we don't have the resource.
Yep.
But the question is, what happens if you don't put the money into that?
Yeah.
So not knowing enough about something is a real issue. Don't
Yep.
get me wrong, and
Yep.
we've made mistakes when we didn't know something about something. It was a stupid decision.
Right.
But you can hire people, you can get people on board, you can get partners, you can get a strategic partner. It doesn't mean a full-time person all the time. A consultant. You
Right.
read a book. What
Right.
I love
Yeah.
about books is learn what something it took someone 30 years to learn
Yeah.
and learn it in a week.
Yeah, because they put it in the book.
That's right.
Exactly.
So just read the book.
Yeah, that's very good.
So, there's so many things you can do when you don't have the knowledge
Yeah.
to fix it. So that's a really easy problem. But I think there's just, like, we had a business coach, we still use him actually in the business, and one thing I was like, there's no one around, I can't get anyone for that or that.
Yeah.
But he said, right, so are you telling me there's not one person in the world that could do that job?
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, of course there is. Well, do you think there's 5?
Right.
Oh, yeah, probably, because you think there's 10. I said, probably. Do you think there's 100?
Probably.
I said, well, probably is. All right, you made your point. And he goes, so you're just not looking in the right places.
Yeah,
Right.
right. Very good.
So not knowing and then going into something is being a bit silly.
Yeah.
And you've got to assess the risks.
Yeah.
But sometimes ignorance is bliss, and you just go, I'm going to give this a go. I think it's right. I think it's going to work.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's a fine line, and it comes in different phases.
Yeah.
As well. And you can take risks on things at different levels that you can't on other things. Like we've got a lot of staff now.
Yeah.
So that weighs on me. But also,
Yeah.
I can't let that weigh me down to not still take risks and opportunities.
No, I agree.
So,
I talk about this all the time, even in the world of church. Like, I would never have... I think God in His kindness doesn't show us all the obstacles up
100%.
front because we would assess it and go, not worth it. Or it's going to be too hard.
Yeah.
But I think God releases them in stages so you can sometimes even look back, well, I've come this far.
yeah,
I might as well keep going. Even though the next obstacle's big, I've already come so far.
Right.
It's like, let's just keep going. Let's keep, dealing with it and taking on one at a time.
I'll give it at home in Australia. There's so many, and if any of my mates are property valuers listening to this, apologise in advance. But in all the professions that I used to deal with in finance,
Yep.
the one profession that would never really own property or buy property was property valuers.
Wow.
So the guys that banks and people are paying for to go and tell them what properties are worth were never buying any property because they just couldn't get their head around it.
Wow.
Like they didn't have the guts to do it.
Wow. But they were valuing
But
it.
they were the most qualified people
To value
in
a
the
property.
world, in the country, in the state, in the city.
Isn't that crazy?
They were telling banks what it was worth. So
Yeah.
you think that person could identify a good deal
Good deal or not, right, yeah.
So they should be buying all the property.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
But they had the most knowledge. So often the most knowledge
doesn't help.
doesn't help. You need to be above the situation or
Yeah.
looking, not in the detail, because when you are, you often don't create, you don't disrupt, you don't take the risk because you talk yourself out of it because you know too much.
Wow, that's so true.
I used to poke fun at them all the time, and they're all mates of mine. But I said, so, I'm paying you to tell me whether I should do a deal or not, and you've never done a deal.
Wow.
And that's okay. But it's just to that point of knowledge can sometimes be dispowering as much as it can be powering.
For sure, for sure. Every time we're talking, there's always some kind of nugget that you drop and kind of leaves me reeling for a couple of days. Talk about, just real quickly, I know we don't have much time, but I wanted to hear the understanding of what you saw was your advantage in business that you said, this is what I'm going to kind of build from. Talk to us about that idea of the advantage. Talk about that, identifying that, and how do you know what your advantage is?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact movie, but I got it off a movie that I watched where I know it was Matthew McConaughey was the actor.
Yep.
But he said, "Make your advantage your advantage."
Yep. I think it's The Gentleman.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Yep.
And so, two things. So the point in time where I left my 20 years in finance, dealing with agents, real estate agents, bankers, lawyers, sales prevention officers, other developers, builders, everything. I left that to then jump into back into my psychology degree and career, and realised very quickly it wasn't for me. And then I started going, well, hang on, what if I just spend 20 years refining? What if I spent
making your advantage.
Making my advantage was I could look up property values, I could look up mortgages, I could look up I had all these tools at my disposal and could do it like this. And that was my advantage. My advantage wasn't going back to uni and starting from scratch.
Right.
So I thought that's my advantage to move forward.
Right.
And so then when I figured that out, that actually then was my advantage.
Yeah.
So the way I can do finance and structured deals and know that helped me be able to do the deals that I've talked about here and a whole heap others. So for example, another quick example was another property was banks generally, and they might do it here as well, is they'll either lend off the contract price or the valuation. They're ready for the catch, whichever is the lesser. So I buy a property for $1 million. They value it at 900. They lend off the 900.
Yes.
If I buy it for $1 million and they value it at 1.1 million, then they'll lend off the contract, the $1 million. So you snagged either way, right?
Right.
But what part of my advantage was I knew lenders that actually said, no, well, if you get it valued and we'll lend off the valuation.
Right.
So that was part of my advantage that I'd learned. Knew over that 20 years. So then there was another property I negotiated on that got valued at 27 million, and we exchanged it for 15.
Right.
So the bank lent me on the 27 and gave me all the money
to do the build out and everything,
and some cash.
Wow.
So I owned the property, and they actually gave me money to buy it.
That's amazing.
Now,
amazing.
I was comfortable with the leverage because of the other risks, so I started to concentrate on that. However, my point was that was my advantage, right?
Yes.
And I could do those sort of deals and then make more money. I didn't have to, and on that particular deal, I didn't have to put anything in.
Yeah, wow.
I had a conversation with another mate of mine who was a drummer in a world famous band. And we got talking, and he said, I'm going to start doing books on drum practice routines and want to sell them to kids and whatnot. And I went, oh yeah. I said,
sounds good.
I said, no offense, but I said, my kid who you're aiming at wouldn't even know who you are.
Right.
Because I know who you are because you're my age. But I said, this concept, I said, that's not your advantage.
No.
Your advantage is you were a world-class drummer in a world-class band that did all this. You need to be looking at this, and this, because people can't talk about touring the world as a world-famous drummer in a world-famous band. And if
But a no-name drummer can do a tutorial.
that's right, I said, but anyone can do that.
Yeah.
He went, you're right. And I said, yeah, because that's your advantage. That's your
Yes.
unique
Yes.
selling proposition.
So
That's
good.
your uniqueness. So once people start thinking about that, it really narrows it down, because often you go to what you think you should do or could do or what's sensible to do, but
Right.
what's uniquely your advantage.
Yeah.
And then you will be infinitely more successful than the next person once you know that and you apply that.
So good.
That's what I believe, and I've experienced and I've seen time and time again.
So good.
One of the other nuggets you dropped this morning, just in my one day of knowing you so far, Paul. You dropped
Well, that's
many.
2 nuggets. That's all right. That's made the day worthwhile.
I was asking you because you have the Winarch Group has so many different pillars,
Yep.
or the 4 pillars, but industries that, coming from a finance background, you'd never think you'd venture into. And so I was asking you how you decide, okay, I'm going to go into this one. You talked about the 1 + 1 = 3.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Could you talk more about that and how you know when you have that 1 + 1
Yeah.
= 3?
I'm a big believer on passion and energy and vision, like all that
Yep.
soft, fluffy stuff.
Yep.
But it's the secret sauce that gets us out of bed and helps us start businesses and grow churches
Yep.
and do the impossible and disrupt and, to be honest, sometimes just survive and make a living as well. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, right? So what happens though is that then we want to partner up.
Right.
Or then we want to get people in, and it could be investors, it could
Yep.
be a business partner, it
Yep.
could be it could be a personal relationship. But in business, what I found is if 1 + 1 still equals 2,
Yeah.
it's not energizing.
advantage, yeah.
It's not good for you, and it's not good for me. We actually haven't, and often for me that's actually a sign to say we shouldn't do something.
Yeah.
Because what happens is 1 + 1 sometimes equals 1 sometimes.
Yes.
And it's, it
Yeah.
just doesn't work.
Right.
And if we're both not getting exponential value out of coming together, why are we coming together?
Correct.
Right.
Let's just ask that question.
Yeah.
And if it is, well, there is no exponential value, well, it's actually going to end in tears probably. Like, you'll get upset, I'm not doing something, or you're not doing something, the outcome will not be great, and then we'll sit back and go, I could have just done that myself. And
Yeah.
why am I giving half to this guy? Or he's,
Right.
So then, but the flip side occurs, right? 1 + 1 = 3. So then I go, well, hang on a second. If I do this and you do that, well, we can create something that I know I can't do by myself,
Yeah.
Right.
and that you can't do by yourself. How excited and energized are we?
Yeah.
And how awesome is the creation and what we do?
Yes. The energy.
And a good example is when people take money, right? They and Shark Tank's a great example
Yep,
of that.
yep.
If all the sharks put an offer in, we'll take the one that's going to bring the most value,
Yep.
and where it equals 3. We see that on that TV show, and I think
Yep.
what happens, we can get so desperate, or we can get so keen, or we want to do something. We just think 1 + 1 = 2, which is, hey, great.
Yeah.
But it's not lasting enough. It doesn't give us enough fire in our belly. And
Right,
we want to be doing 3s and 4s and 10s.
Yeah.
1 + 1 = 10.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, another example was one of the few times I've done partnerships was with a mate of mine who was actually doing a bit of CrossFit with at the time.
Yep.
And he was a builder, and he built all these childcare centres.
Yep.
I found this site that we thought, hey, this could be a childcare centre.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't a builder, and I'm not a builder, and didn't know any of that.
Right.
He couldn't find sites, but he was looking for opportunity.
Yep.
I said, what do you think of this? He goes, oh, boom, boom. He did a bit of work, I did a bit of work.
Yep.
And then we said, yeah, this is great.
Yep.
I talked to the agent and secured the deal and got a cracking deal there.
Yep.
He priced it up, and then we bought it.
Yep.
Then we did it together, and we were both stoked.
Love it.
Wow.
And he did none of the negotiating and settling of the property.
Right.
I did none of the building.
Yep. Yep.
So he did what he was really good at.
You
I
did
was
what you
doing
were
really
good
at. And now we still own that together.
And so 1 + 1 = 3.
1 + 1 = like 33 on that one.
Love that.
Like,
Let's go.
And it was easy. It was
Yep.
enjoyable.
Yep.
It was fun.
Yep.
He was using his skills. I was using my skills.
Yeah.
And that's where the 3 came from.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean things don't get hard or difficult along the way. There's some cost blowout, but we went, okay, we'll just deal with it.
Yeah.
Because we knew it was equaling 3. It was 33. It was 33.
Yeah.
And I think when you get that magic,
I love that.
you go, wow. And people don't often think, what happens if things go really well? They're always trying to protect the downside.
Right.
So someone says, I'll take money, or I'll take that partner on, because in case this doesn't work, this startup doesn't work, or this business fails or whatnot, I'll protect my risk. But then what happens if it does?
Yeah.
Right.
And like, what if things go really well? You want a partner in there that you're energized.
Yes.
Right.
And to know that we could go into another 10 childcare centres if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Because he's got, so you got to also think, what I want this thing to go really well and into the future. I want that energy now.
Yeah.
And if we don't have the energy, and
Yeah.
it makes it really hard.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's hard enough doing what we do.
It's very hard.
So you want energy and you want inspiration.
Yes.
Right.
I want to know that I'm in business with someone, or if I've got someone in that corner who's just a weapon at what they do, and I want them to know I'm a weapon at what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we go, man, we can go and do some really cool stuff.
I think, obviously, I love that, the energy, and we've already talked about the passion that you have that drives everything. I think when I think about you specifically, you have had a willingness to take the risk. I think a lot of people would think about, that'd be a good idea. They'd see a property or whatever and go, that'd be cool, but then there's no follow through. What's your motivation? Where does that come from?
To take the risks on,
Yeah.
to do things. Well, I often say, they're not going to cut my arms and legs off if it doesn't work. So let's start with why not.
Right. Okay.
Well, let's start there
Yeah.
instead of why. Let's start with the why not.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, let's just give it a go. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Now, hey, if they are going to cut my arms and legs off, I
Yeah.
will really think about it, and
Yeah.
I maybe won't do it.
Yeah.
But let's start with a why not.
That's such a
Right.
good place
You
to
know?
start. Yeah.
Why not do it? And then,
Yeah.
hey, let's be serious about this. Could this send us broke? Is this a bad idea? Will this
Right.
get us in trouble?
Right.
Is this
Right.
not the right market?
Yeah.
Is this the wrong? So we go through a bit of a process, and I go through that. But I always start with a
Why not?
Why not, rather
That's
than a why.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
Because
so good.
you're in the position of making a deal happen. You're in a mode of creating.
Yeah.
You're in a mode of problem solving. You're in a mode of opportunity.
Yeah.
You're in a mindset of faith.
Yeah.
You're in a mindset of energy and excitement.
Yeah.
And just because then that attracts more. What I find is when you're in the mode of why not,
Yeah.
the people who can't figure out why get on board.
Yeah. I love that.
And then it's a great leadership tool too. I find
Brilliant leadership
is
tool.
to say, hey, why not? Why can't we do this, guys? Instill confidence. There's always another, like optioneering is one of our things. There's always another way. So if we hit a roadblock, guess what? We're going to figure out a way
Find
through
another
it.
way.
Right.
Is there roadblocks? There probably will be.
Yeah.
Do I know what they are? Do I have the answers? No. But hey, we'll figure it out.
I love that.
Why not do it?
I think from a Christian perspective, that why not is probably closely related to, well, hey, if God's for us, who could be against us?
Right.
It's just this sense that, okay, well, hey, God's for us. Everything else we'll figure out. I love that. I love that. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but that was like,
Awesome.
that's
I mean,
awesome.
quick, that was fun.
I think we've been kind of mining gold all day in our conversation, so it's good to bring some to the platform and talk to the Hype membership. I'd love to get Andrew. I'd love to get Paul on a live Hype session one
That'd be
day.
amazing.
Maybe in Dubai sometime. Maybe you can do
Yeah.
some property deals over there, probably, or something like that. But it's a real treat to have you, Paul.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Awesome.
having
Thanks,
me.
guys.
It's great to have Andrew's support, his moral support. First time on the pod. Look out, Arun. Andrew's coming through with the nuggets. But hey, again, love your Hype World. So glad that you're venturing out, taking risk. Hope you can take something from this podcast and be leaning in. Just a little update. Hype Con Dubai is happening April 23, 24. It is going to be at the Paramount Hotel. That's right. The dates are set. The location is set. And we're stacking the sessions. It's going to be amazing. It's actually coinciding with the AI Summit in Dubai. So the Global AI Summit is happening in Dubai at the same time. So if you want to cross-pollinate worlds, you want to learn about AI, and you want to kind of come and visit HypeCon, it is definitely a great time of year to be there, and we're going to pack it out. I think we've only got 100 tickets left. So you want to get in very, very quickly. Go to hypenetwork.org and tune in next time to the very next episode.
Exactly.
Bless you guys.